Hey everybody, welcome back to Moving Forward. This is episode 131 and hopefully it will upload on time this time. It did last time, so yay. If you are new to the channel, if you want to go up to the top toolbar where it says videos, it'll give you all the videos so you can start at number 1 and work your way up through the story. If you want to just join us today, we welcome you to stay and travel along with us through this faith move that I've done from Kansas to Arizona. So today I'm gonna jump back to September of 22 with you guys. Now for some of you that have watched all the way through and you've probably heard this, I hope you'll stay with me. God sometimes brings lessons back to us again, and this is one that just came back to me and I wanted to share it again. There is a book by W.Seth and it's called Faith Moves, and God had me read that book and then had floated it back up to the top of the pile again recently for me to read again. And I just kept noticing, I kept moving the book, I kept trying to put it, you know, at the bottom. I have a lot of books, but I kept putting it under, and for some reason it would come back up to the top. Now, it didn't magically float up there, you know, but like I would dust and then, you know, pick my books back up and put them back on the shelf and it would land on top when that isn't where I had it and stuff like that. So I was just noticing that it just kept being put back on top. And so I thought I'm probably supposed to look at that again because it keeps coming back. So I did. And so I'm going to go over that again. And part of it was just the foreword. The foreword was written by Dr. Charles E. Goodman Jr. And some of the things he said in that just have touched me again in a way to remind me that God has brought me here on purpose. And this is not an accident. Just like you watching today is not an accident. It is on purpose, and God is going to use it for a good purpose. So he said, when God gives you a dream, he knows what it will cost, the mistakes you will make, and the lessons you will learn. God has already done the math and worked through the calculations. Therefore, if you commit to the dream and the vision, God will handle the rest. It's true, for every God vision, there's God provision. So I just want to go over that with you and break it down a little bit, because he said initially, when God gives you a dream, he knows what it will cost. And you know, I didn't know. He gave me the dream. I didn't even feel like it was my dream. I felt like he told me to go, so I had to go. But he knew what it would cost me. He knew I was going to have to say goodbye to my family. He knew I was going to have to sell my house. He knew that things would cost me here, that I wouldn't have friends for a while, and that, you know, I would be lonely, and things are expensive in Arizona. But he knew all that. He knew all of that. And sometimes I think he doesn't show us that part, right? The road that you're going to travel down. He shows you the end. He shows you, I want you to move to Arizona, right? So I just go to Arizona. If he had shown me all what I was going to have to go through getting there, I probably wouldn't have come. It'd be really easy to say, well, that doesn't look fun, right? I don't want to spend days and days crying my eyes out. No thanks. But he just shows you the end and shows you this is where I want you to go. And so he knew the cost. He didn't show me the cost, but he also knew the mistakes I would make. I made mistakes. I'm human. I'm not perfect. I make bad choices sometimes. And he knew the mistakes I would make, and he still chose me. He still sent me. And so he knows what you're going through too, you guys. He knows what mistakes you've made. He knows what mistakes you're going to make. And he still chose you. He still has a plan and a purpose for you. And he knows the lessons I'll learn. And I've learned many. Still learning. But he knows the lessons that you'll learn too. So he's already done the math and worked out the calculations. He tells us not to look at tomorrow. Don't worry about tomorrow. Worry about today. Keep our focus on today. He's already in our tomorrow. He's already in our next week. He's already in our next year. But we're not. And just like he's not giving us that roadmap for the vision, he's not giving us all the details about what's going to happen all those days ahead either, but he's there. And so we can trust that. And that's the part that I'm learning or relearning, revisiting this week, is that he's already ahead of me. He's ordering my steps to meet him where he already is. It's already there. And so I need to trust the steps that he's telling me to take. And I'm trying really hard to pay attention. So something that Seth Martin said was, practical decision with real consequences without earthly assurances is a faith move. And let me just break that down into an application for you. So my practical decision was, I'm going to obey God. I'm going to move to Arizona. Some people would not call that practical, but I call it practical because it's obeying God. And with real consequences, though, right? I had to sell my house. I had to let my kids, or leave my kids, tell them goodbye, tell my grandkids goodbye, find a place to live. I mean, those are real consequences to that practical decision, right? But without earthly assurances. I didn't know where I was going to live. I didn't know how much it was going to cost. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know if my relationships would stay strong with everybody being 1,200 miles away. Like, I didn't have any earthly assurances. So that's what made it a faith move. It was a practical decision with real consequences without earthly assurances. That was the faith move. And what I'm feeling like today is that there's somebody watching, and God's told you to do something, and you've pushed it back here in your brain. You're like either asking yourself, is that really God? Or you're saying, I know that's you, but I don't like that. I don't want that. Like, I'm pushing it back here because I don't want to think about that. And if you've been watching my channel, you know that I did that. I did that when I got the little necklace. Remember when I got the dog tags from church at New Life in Gardner? I got that, and I didn't want it. It said move, and he said hang that from somewhere where you'll remember it and you'll keep it in front of you. I did not want to do that. I did not want to remember it. I did not want to think about it. I stuck it in a drawer in the closet. Didn't want to think about it. And I feel like there's somebody on today watching that is also thinking that. There's something God's told you and you don't want to think about it. You don't want that to be the thing that he's calling you to. But trust me when I tell you, he's got you. He has kept me every step of the way. I have a roof over my head. I have food in my stomach. I have what I need. I have a car. I have gas. I have what I need. I don't have a lot, and I have bills due. but here I am, and I'm gushing on God everywhere I go because that's what he sent me here for. And so I'm just going to tell you to trust him. He's got you. He's not going to let you go. He already knew, and he already knows. He knew where you'd be today, and he knows where you're going to be tomorrow and next week and next year. So trust him. And something else that got me on this was, he said, if you aren't careful, what you get comfortable with will consume you. So if you don't listen to him and you just get comfortable and complacent in your day-to-day activities, that can begin to consume you. And I can give you a good example of this with my own life. One of the mistakes I made when I quit watching sermons for a period of time and I started watching Netflix. And I think I've talked about this before, so you may have heard it before, but I got where it's easy to binge on Netflix, right? Or Hulu or any of those shows those channels that you get just series on, and you can watch show after show after show. And they're really good, and it's fun and relaxing, and you don't have to think about anything. But then at the end of the day, you look at it and you go, wow, I spent 2.5 hours with not mind-numbing activity. And you can do that day after day after day. Sometimes you can spend from 8 to 10 or 8 to midnight even just binging on shows. But what if that time were spent watching sermons? There are so many really good ones out there, you guys, and I have watched so many. And I was mad at myself when I got away from it because I got where I was preferring to watch Netflix. You get comfortable if you aren't careful. You get comfortable and then it consumes you. And you just can't get to that point. You've got to say, no, I've got 2.5 hours before bed. I could watch T.D. Jakes. I could watch Kenneth Martin. I could watch Terry Mackey. There are so many good sermons out there. You watch Tony Evans. So many good ones. So let's not waste the life that God gave us. We only get one. We only have one shot to do it right. We have one chance to share the word, make disciples, do what he commanded us to do. He commanded all of us to go therefore and make disciples. And we need to do that. So we witness God's blessing in our lives when we trust God to lead the way, even if the path is away from home. And that's where mine was. He factored in my failures, so that was good. Your path might not lead away from home. Your path might lead right to your living room. It might be your family. But it might lead away from home, and it might lead away from your home country even. So you need to really be in tune with God, pay attention, and do what he says, because you guys, you won't regret it. You just won't regret it. He is so amazing, and he takes care of us in such amazing ways, and it's so fun to be part of his plan. So I hope that you won't get comfortable and get too consumed with what you're comfortable in, but that you will step out on faith, do what he's called you to do, and just watch what he does. I can't wait to hear about it. Type it on the line. Let me know what you're doing this week, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.